Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, ish. Oh. I know he didn't do it, baby.
Hold on a second. Whoa. Where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop balls.
What's up? This is your boy Bradley DLO Thomas. Welcome to the BLK podcast. I by day, I do marketing in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm a poet, MC, producer by passion. And let me pass the microphone.
What's up? It's your girl Opal Elisa. I am a director of multicultural business strategy in the financial industry by day, and by passion, I'm a spoken word artist, MC, author, all of the above. I'll pass the mic.
What's going on? It's your boy Corey Dashed Up Whitmore. By day, it's Media 22. By night, it's Media 22. But I like to step out on Fridays for Mad Lit. What's going on?
That's what's up. I mean, everybody that you're going to be talking to today are going to be hearing from on this podcast is what I like to call like a slasher. Like you just have to keep putting slash behind their names because they're great at so many things. I mean, I am being humble, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like we all great at doing something, but we're going to focus in on this individual right here. Some of y'all, you know, it's in 2022, y'all know him as what the Birdman? I don't know if it's you know what I'm saying.
But Birdman.
We gonna get into that, you know what I'm saying. But you know, I've known this brother for decades. I mean, everything that he touches, he puts all his passion into. He's an authentic person. I love being around him. A couple of his accolades, a few of them. He's the biopic birding club Wisconsin founder, owner of a studio, Warm Glow Studios. He is a musician, part of legendary groups in the Madison area, and a solo artist as well. He's a motivator. He's a digital marketing expert. You know, I often follow him on social media just to get some information from him. Motivational, speaker. He's also a corporate trainer, and recently he's also been a professor. He's a professor at the University of Wisconsin Madison. So he has many things that we're gonna talk to him about. But without further ado, I want to introduce to you the homie Dexter Patterson. What's up, man? How you feeling?
What's up? What's up with y'all? What's up with y'all? You know, I've been following the movement. I'm excited to chat with y'all, man. It's a beautiful thing, you know. It's a beautiful thing. What y'all trying to do is it's kind of that each one, like reach one, each one teach one.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a village type thing, and I think that's pretty dope. You know what I mean? That's kind of like at the essence of, you know, hip hop, but also like what we're trying to do in the community, just trying to build people up. So I'm excited to be here with y'all today.
Cool, man. Cool, dope, man. So that being said, I mean, we talked about community. You are from this community, so I always like people to, number one, got to say this for the people that can't see on the video. I tell people to grab a notebook because we always take notes from every individual that comes on here because they drop jewels for us. But the first thing we want to get into with you, Dex, is tell us about your journey to how you got to where you are today. And you've accomplished so many things and done so many amazing things with different people and groups and built up teams and businesses. But like, what is the driving force? Like, tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
It took a while. You know, like I would tell people, like there were times, right, where people are like looking at me like I'm doing my TEF Talk video series, right? This is kind of where it really started. Where I started, I'm like, you know what? I'm struggling, right? And I started locking in on what I was struggling on. And then I started paying attention to the things that I was doing that was helping me get up out of some of that stuff, right? So like I was like, all right, I'm gonna start sharing this with people, because one thing I learned about myself early on is like when I teach something back to people, I absorb it better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As a
Right.
teacher, you know, like it's weird, but like I've always been like that. Like I don't master anything until I'm able to teach it to somebody else, to where I feel comfortable once I've taught it to you that you could go master it. Right. But I can't get to that point, you know what I mean? Like until I start teaching it. And that was literally my motivation. And at the time it was selfish. I always tell people it's not selfish to be selfish, right? Because like at that time I was trying to make myself better. And I was like, you know what? This is how I get better. If I got to teach this stuff as I'm struggling, as I'm working through this stuff, and share this stuff out with other people. That was the big thing that people didn't get. It was like when I was sharing that tip, I needed some of that. You know what I mean? Like I needed people to jump in the comments and talk about, man, bro, this was on time. I needed this what I'm on. This, you know what I mean? That type of stuff. So it was like, it was kind of a give and take, where it was like, I wasn't just trying to give knowledge. Like I was literally trying to create this two-way communication with people, and really trying to build myself up at that time, and really trying to hone in, like everything I shared. As I look back on it, every tip, everything I shared is something that you could go in and you can apply it to so many different avenues in life. And I was like, all right, I need to master this stuff. And the way I'm gonna master this stuff is by teaching it to the people. So that's what I started doing. And I did it for a long time. I've got hundreds of those videos out there, hundreds of thousands of views on those videos over the years. And it kind of got to the point where now I could just like live it. You know, like everyone, I'm not doing it weekly how I used to. I got some things, and we'll get into that in a second. I got some new stuff that I'm thinking about. So be on the look for office hours.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? So trying to, you know, it's always levels to it. So, you know, Tough Talk was something that really got me through some rough times in my life. And I know a lot of people, y'all should see some of the messages I got back as I was doing those videos and stuff. And there was, you know, and it was those messages, and y'all know who y'all all are, you know, the people who were sending me those messages kept me going during some pretty tough times for myself, you know, as I was working through some stuff. So I really appreciate that, man. So that's kind of like my philosophy and my journey is kind of that, you know what I mean? Really just looking at it and just trying to be 1% better. Not necessarily knowing, you know, and we're in this, and I'm a social media manager, right? I live in a world that is all about instant gratification. So for me to take a step back on some of this stuff and think long term, that's what this is, right? This is like bro, you said this is a journey. Okay, like this is long term. So like understand that like sharing a tip or you gain some knowledge, right? Like you got to apply it now, and then you got to apply it consistently. And then you got to apply it to the point where it becomes a habit, right? So like there's so many different levels to it. So like that's what I try to say is like it is a journey. Be patient with yourself. Be that lifelong learner, and be willing to put in that work and apply that knowledge, because that knowledge, that if you don't apply it, it's useless.
Absolutely.
Love that.
You know, I get caught up. You know, I used to tell people all the time, like, to be like, people always say like knowledge is power. Like, no, it's not. You gotta apply that knowledge. So I'm glad that I'm so happy you said that.
That's a fact. Like I've known you for decades too, right? So like way back, because I'm a Madison kind of born and raised person too. So like I love how you say that, because I can see that all through your journey, right? Like when you were an athlete at West High School, right? Because like the black folks in this city, you know the good black folks, right? Like you know the folks who were starting right on all the teams. So you've been on the radar for a minute. And I can see that all through your music, through everything that you do. So I think that's beautiful. And I think one of the threads for you too is just like your authenticity. You just really come, like you said, like you were saying those tips for you. And like we could feel that. We could feel that watching that. It's like, all right. And that's why it becomes like a pick me up, right? It's not like you're like, you know, mapped it out for the next month or something. It's like, nah, you feeling this today. and you sharing it. So I can't wait. The office hours.
Man, those were
I can already
hard
see your
too.
marketing right on brand.
Man,
With the
some of those
professor,
days
right?
though, some of those days were so hard. And I remember like it was crazy because it got to a point where I like felt like I had hit a wall. And I hired a success coach, and a lot of people don't talk about this. But I hired a success coach to really, you know, somebody that has no skin in the game outside of like, I want Dexter to be the best version of Dexter possible, right? An outsider per se, you know what I mean? Like growing up how I grew up and you in the game, like it's hard to trust people, right? So like I had trust issues for a long time, and I realized that like I had kind of gotten to a point by myself. I kind of got as far as I was going to go. And, you know, I took a step back and I'm like, man, there's some holes here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not reaching my full potential. I'm not applying a lot of the knowledge I got. Why am I not applying that? There's usually reasons for that. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when you peel back the layers, it's these fear. A lot of it for me was a lot of trauma. And self-doubt from growing up. So getting through a lot of mental health issues and barriers, and like really trying to be like, okay, it's okay to go get help. It's okay to realize that you don't have all the answers, and like not beating myself up for that, you know, as a Black man, like that was hard for me. And it took me a long time. So getting that person to really to step back and say, Dexter, and this is some of the realest stuff that I've ever heard, is like, what the hell do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? He's like, you do everything. He's like, and I'm telling you right now, that ain't a compliment. Right? You do everything. And I was like, but it was that ain't a compliment part that made me think, right? Because I was doing everything. And I was, you know, that master, you know, that jack of all trades, master of none. That was me. Right? My foot and hands on every single thing I could touch. You know what I mean? And I'm burning out. I'm dealing with insomnia. You know, I'm battling depression stuff. I'm going halfway into things that I could be super great at, right? Or I'm a quarter way in on things I should be 110% in, right? So him saying, dude, what the hell do you want, was some of the best advice I ever got in my life, because it really challenged me. But it was that challenge on the backside of what do you want? Like, dude, this ain't a compliment that you're doing everything, because you're stretching yourself thin. You only have limited resources. We are human beings, right? You only can do so much. So taking a step back and saying, what do I really want, man? Like, that's what I would say to anybody. Your life journey, the sooner you figure out what you actually want, so you can start to invest all your time, your energy, and your resources into what you actually want, that's when life gets fun, right? That's when life gets fun, because now you know that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You ain't losing sleep at night because you ain't questioning yourself. You're starting to be confident because you're doing what you love. It don't feel like work, right? So like there's some different things where people are like, dang, Dex, how are you running a birding club and social media manager and teaching and doing all that? And I say, think about what you just said. I'm a social media manager. I'm teaching. I'm running a birding club. That's what I want to do, right? Like, so like it's like, but now I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that. I'm doing those couple of things, and I'm being a father and a husband, right?
That's right.
So it's like I'm doing literally only what I want to do. Right. It might seem like a lot to a lot of other people, right? But to me, I finally got clarity. That's the success tip. If I get anything out of that, y'all, what do you want, and get clear on what you want, because clarity is priceless. Like when I figured out and I got clear on what I wanted, my life just took off. And it was like, it wasn't like, and it was crazy because like when we signed up, I signed up for a mastermind, and it was called the Slingshot. It was a 6 side. It was like what we're trying to do is trying to design a slingshot year. what was this slingshot year look like? And I'm sitting in a mastermind with high performing men all over the country, right? All over the country, men doing incredible things. I'm talking about millionaires. We're just people that really push me, right? And we're all pushing each other at the same time. And the common thread I noticed was when every single person, when they took off, when they started seeing their money change, when they started seeing their life change, was when they got clear on what they wanted in life.
Right.
Because if you have no clarity, you're not going to make no money, right? You're not going to know where to even put your money. You're not going to know where your cheese is. There's a book called, there's a marketing book about, you know, Who Moved My Cheese. Have you read that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's a genius book. A lot of people just don't know where the hell their cheese is. When you know where it is, there's enough for everybody. You just got to know where it's at. So that's the gem of the day right there off top, bro. Clarity.
Man, we are 15 minutes in and you just gave a whole episode worth of gems. Dang, we'll get back on track in a second, but I just gotta I'm already gonna listen to this one for myself. But I just want to highlight a couple of things. Number one, Black men don't talk about burnout, right? Black women been starting to do that for a couple years, but that's one of the first times I've heard right now Black men talk about burnout. So I commend you for that.
Health, right? Mental health and general. And the big thing was, and like what got me there was being outdoors, was birding and stuff. Because like when I really started getting serious about it, it was peak pandemic, overweight, depressed, not around people. Like I was in need again of something. And I noticed I was getting outside and I started feeling better. And I'm like, whoa. There's something here. There's something here, and I stayed consistent with it. And I was like, "Oh, there's definitely something here." Right. I'm 40 pounds lighter. I'm waking up. I'm sleeping. I'm like, this is okay. There's something here. So I started sharing that part of it out, you know, and it's just like. I always tell people that emoji, man. I be having these head blowing these moments where my head just turns into that emoji where it's just blowing up, and I'm like, that's one of those moments. I need to start talking about this because there's so many of my brothers out there and period and sisters period, but that are just struggling and think that there's something wrong with them because they're struggling. No. The people that you think are strong, that are doing good, they have struggle days. I have struggle days. And like that took a lot of me to start sharing that with people. Right. And like when I started doing that, it started bringing people in. I think that probably threads to that authenticity stuff that y'all started, you know, that y'all mentioned. Because they just started saying like Dex is like, he's successful, he's doing things, but shit, he's struggling just like we are. You know what I mean? He battled depression and he battled anxiety and trauma, was abused as a kid and all this shit, right? So like it was like once I started being able to talk about that stuff and kind of move past a lot of that stuff was when I started being able to just be like, all right, this is who I am. You know, like it's crazy what that comfort in your own skin does to you with what battling demons and moving them, right? Like putting them in the rear view and kind of just going forward. It's amazing what that does for you. You know what I'm saying? And talking about mental health, that's a big part of it because a lot of the mental health issues that I dealt with was due to that past trauma and stuff. So when you deal with it and you address that stuff and you face it head on, you can only get stronger.
That's beautiful. Yeah, especially like the BIPOC birder piece, right? Like how you like found something that healed you and then you shared it with others. And I'm telling you, it's appealing for that reason. Like I have a 15-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old daughter, and she don't want to do nothing I suggest, like nothing I suggest. And she happened to see on my feed, she was like, I'll do that. I was like, you will? Like I try not to get excited because if I get excited and she don't want to do it, something you're doing, like it's crossing generations, like it's appealing. So she'll be with y'all at Cherokee Marsh later on next month because you are really doing something. So I just love that. I love that you shared that. So you do your things that you love, that you want to do. So what's a day in the life? What does that look like for you? Is there a typical day? Number one.
Oh man,
If
it's
not,
beautiful.
take us through one.
It's beautiful because it's like what I always tell people. I used to be so focused. Here come another one. Here come another one.
Okay. I'm gonna grab my pen. Grab a pen.
Yeah. So I used to be so focused on goals, y'all. I used to be so goal oriented. Like, oh my God, that's why I think I had so much shit going on. I had to go here, go there, go there, go. Yeah. Everybody a goal, right? Oprah. You know, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Yeah. And I was like, that shit is exhausting.
Thanks.
Right.
Living on that goal-oriented lifestyle is exhausting because you're always chasing your tail. There's no end game when you're only thinking about goal. So I took a step back. This was another revelation with my coach. And it was like, it ain't the goals that's pushing you. It's the habits you create that allow you to accomplish all these goals. Right. So instead of living a goal-oriented lifestyle, live a habit-oriented lifestyle. Right. So that way, once you recognize your bad habits, you can tweak them. Once you recognize your good habits, those are your strengths, you lean into them. Right. Dude, life-changing. Right. Like I don't, there's goals, right? I do marketing and we got KPIs. That's all fun stuff. Yeah. When you talk about real life, it ain't about the goals. It's about those habits that you create on a day-to-day basis, Opal, to get into what your daily routine, what a day might look like. It's those habits that I've built up that now have allowed me to, when I wake up, I bird super early in the morning because I want to. Because I wake up early as hell and I'm out there and I'm got what I got. And then when I get back and I get ready for my day, guess whose blood's pumping and like energy is at top notch, right? So when I get dressed and I jump in the shower and I get dressed and I sit down to do work, guess who's in prime shape before the day even starts? Because he's already had his dose of vitamin D, that he's already had the birds singing to him for an hour and a half. He's got water running and he's happy. He done been singing, dancing, and rapping in the woods and shit, right? I show up to the morning meeting and everybody else like this, you know, I'm like, what? Cracking, you know what I'm saying? So my day is that. Like, I wake up and I do what I'm great at. I do what I'm happy, like what makes me happy. I try to get better. I try to read. I try to do things, right? Like, and it's all baked into my day, right? Like, and it's not even like hour this, do this, do this, do this. No, it's these habits that I've paid attention to, that I've started to recognize that just I live my life this way now, right? Like, it's not that's what's so crazy. Like, it ain't no Rolodex, right? You see what I did there? Rolodex. It's like, it's literally just like, it's just it's habits. It's habits that have built into me where I wake up every day and I just live a certain way. And typically it's outside of my comfort zone, right? Imagine this little box around all of us on this screen, right? That's our comfort zone. I'm living like this all the time, right? If you like this and you only doing certain stuff and what you doing ain't scaring you a little bit, you probably ain't, ain't dreaming big enough. And your body is trying to tell you that, right? Because you've kind of settled. You've settled. This is what settled is, like shriveled and shit, right? Right. Settled. That's what that feel like in that comfort zone. So that's what the day is, Opal, is literally just trying to live in that joy, and trying to do the things that I've proactively paid attention to that I know move the needle for me. And as long as you focus on those things, you cannot help but be successful.
Right.
I love it.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
So I'm just curious, man. Like, how long have you had your success coach? Like, how often do y'all talk things out? Because
so I met him in 2019 at a conference. I have been going to the Social Media Marketing World Conference out in San Diego. I have been going there for a couple of years. and I met him. It was weird. We're in a session together, and I sat next to him, and I noticed him and his daughter. And the way I noticed him is his daughter is a person of color, and I'm at this conference, and we was like flies and milk. So so immediately I peeped him because he's a white. He's this bald white dude with a biracial daughter, and I was just kind of like, okay, he's kind of cool. But then I started noticing that he was talking to people that I knew. Now my networking brain kicked on. I'm like, hold on, wait. Dude just gave me awesome vibes, and we know similar people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, okay. So my antennas went up, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times people ask about networking, and I don't know, y'all probably gonna ask me about this anyway. But networking, a lot of it is observation. It's people watching. It's not you always trying to do something. It's you trying to assess the situation. So like, I see him and I'm like, dude, it's kind of cool. Him and his daughter is vibing. They're literally sitting right next to me we're up front. That was another thing I noticed when I'm at a conference. I'm like, if you sit up front, that tells me something about you too, right? Because I'm right up front. I'm like, I'll give me all that shit. Well, I want it all. And I was like, okay, they're up front. They're having fun. She's smiling. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool, right? Then he starts talking to people I know, and I was like, okay, I gotta know this dude. You know what I mean? Simple. That was when I was like, all right, at some point during this conference, I'm gonna introduce myself to him. That's what I told myself, right? Didn't happen immediately or anything. Happened, I went to another one of my sessions, and it was crazy. He was the person introducing the speaker. I was like, oh, that was it, right? Like I listen to signs, y'all. Like I'm like, okay, I'm already talking about I need to talk to this dude. There he is, right? Again, and right in front of me, introducing this. So I was like, all right. At the end of this session, I'm like, I'm just gonna go introduce him. Like, oh, I say, such and such, he's super cool. And we linked. His name's Angus Nelson. And what's so cool about Angus, we meet in San Diego. And we get to talking, and I go out. I'm always repping like the Brewers or the Badgers or the Packers or something, right? It's kind of like my thing, I've always been that. That's just who I am. And he sees my hat. I got my Badger hat on. I'm out there for work. The Alumni Association sends me out there. Professional development budget, baby.
Right. Yes, sir.
So they see me out there. I'm out there in my Badger hat. And so I go up to Angus and I'm like, yo, my name's Dexter, and he's like, Wisconsin. And then he's like, go, Pack, go. And like, he starts saying all this stuff. And he's like, dude, I'm from Wisconsin.
What?
He's like,
That's wild, yo.
I used to live in Wausau. And I was like, what? You used to live in Wausau? He's like, yeah, I live in Nashville now. He's like, but yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I live in Nashville now. We just got to chopping it up, and I found out that he actually used to book music festivals and stuff. It was kind of crazy, like how it went from I need to talk to this dude to like all these like common threads that we had about life, right? And then I was like, dude, that's so cool, right? So we just kind of clicked, right? And I seen him, and that was kind of it. Then I went back. And I saw him again the next year, y'all. Like this is a year after. Yeah. And a year after, so much had changed for him, and he was like, man, I was doing this. He was like doing like consulting things, but he had started his own business. And that year, he started coaching people. He started like leaning into his stuff. And then it was like, I heard about some of the people, like the dude dad. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him. He's like super funny, like he like does all these funny like dad videos online that go like mega viral. If you ain't heard of him, but like he also like coaching Michael Stelzner, who is the founder of the social media marketing world. So I'm like, you coaching this dude, and I'm going to his conference. I was like, oh man, we just got a link. We exchanged numbers, and then like started finding out that we had even more connections and things like that. And then all of a sudden, probably 6 months even after, no, almost a year after that, So now we're a couple years into this thing. He sends me a note because we have been communicating, saying, "Hey, I'm setting up this mastermind with all these high performing men all over the country. I would love for you to be a part of it." And that was kind of my entry into it, where I was like, "Yeah, this is for me." And like it was kind of like I do consider myself a lifelong learner, you know what I mean? But having that experience with all these other men that are doing different things in their lives, and just that authenticity to be able to peel back the layers and have people that didn't grow with you, don't have that I don't want to hurt his feelings vibe or anything. It wasn't none of that, y'all. Like it was like literally we here to push each other. But love each other. It was kind of it was call each other up, is what Angus would say. Instead of calling each other out. It was like we was calling each other up, because we would see things that one of our brothers was doing, and we would call them up and say, "Hey, you're like a boss for real. Like there's no way this should be happening. Let's raise that bar where it should be." And that was another that revelation of where it's like during those times when I know I'm kind of slipping below the bar, not to feel sorry for myself, to be like, you know what, I'm a human being, right? We're all gonna have those moments, but to have that resiliency to push that motherfucker right back up. You know what I'm saying? Once you see it, give yourself the grace. I think that's what, people think that like I'm always like this hustle. By all means, no, we got to give each other some grace sometimes. Because you can't hustle without grace. We all gonna make make mistakes. We're all gonna have failures and stuff. But the thing I always say is like, think about how many times you've already failed. And you're still here, right? And you're better than you've ever been. So I would say keep failing, fail a little bit more, and you probably get to another level.
Nice.
That's what's up. I always love to trace back, talk about the now, but dip back into the past, because I feel like the past so many times sets up for where people are now. And you already know our story, and a lot of people that tune in, we're music heads. We've been in it. Many of us still doing it, and we love it. And my question to you is, what role has music played in your success that you have right now, or did it play any role?
Yeah, music has always played a role, right? I look at it because it was like, I think back on music, and I'm gonna date myself here, and I think about my career, and this was the first connection that I was able to come up with as I was thinking back on my life. And it's funny you asked this question, because I did not know you were gonna ask this question.
Yeah, I pulled
it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, but the first connection I noticed when I was like social media manager, digital marketer, branding, all that, right?
Yeah.
I started thinking back to when MySpace first came out.
Oh boy.
and being one of those dudes, right? That's sitting with like Joey V. Shout out to Joey V for Rennie Born Music, and building MySpace pages that took 8 hours because we had dial-up.
Okay.
And helping people do it.
Yeah.
So like, people don't think that like that'll sound nothing, but like I was like, even back then, I was like helping people build presence on MySpace, and then like I was meeting people, and like I was doing shows all over the country because of that networking, and because I was helping this artist do this, and you got a show there, I got a show here, let's show swap this, I'll guarantee you travel plus hotel and this if you can guarantee me this, so like I started thinking about, it's like, dude, you've been doing this.
Facts.
You've been doing this. You've been doing social media management. You've been doing digital marketing. You've been doing it because you was creating these events online. You was creating flyers and packing shows out that are sold out, right? And when Facebook first started, one of the few people that was doing the events and inviting people and knowing how that actually worked, and still selling out shows and helping other people do it. And then it was like the ads part of it. So I was like,
It all come full circle.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Bro,
Mhm.
you've been doing this, right? So
Right.
like it was kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So like when I was sitting in what's crazy, I was sitting in my college advisor's office at Madison College when I first started going back to school, which was 2010,
Okay.
which is crazy to think about it. And I remember being in my college advisor's office, who was Jeff Galligan, who is the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin now.
Nice.
So think about
Nice.
that.
Okay.
Nice.
Ain't that some networking for your ass? Right? Your college advisor from 10 plus years ago, you staying in connection with and got a relationship with to the point where you build an organization together that's changing the game, right? Like that's networking, right? That's over a decade, right? Long term. So thinking about that and sitting in his office doing career assessments and stuff. Right. And like I'm doing the career assessments and everything kept coming back, y'all. Communications, technology. And what was cool was like this was right when things started taking off.
Yep.
And one thing I've always kind of been good at is like catching a wave and knowing how to like ride that motherfucker. Right. So like I saw it and I'm like, well, I'm coming back to school. I'm taking all these career assessments. They're telling me communications, digital, this and that, right? I'm looking at social media. I'm doing MySpaces and Facebook had just started taking off. I'm kind of really digging that. Twitter's okay at the time. And I was like, this is it. This is the lane. If I'm a rebrand myself, I'm gonna go back to school, right? What's the ROI of me going back to school? The ROI of me going back to school is that I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to spend my money on something that matters to me, first of all, and something that I will actually do, finish,
right. Yeah. That's important.
but actually be good at, right? That's the key. Is like, don't go to school for something that you're just kind of like into for a second. Right? Like it can't be a fad type thing. It needs to be what you're naturally gifted. We all have gifts, right? Even when I was young, like they were, oh, you got the gift of gab. You can make friends with anybody. I've been told that since I was since I was a little kid. So now I start thinking back on it. I'm like, wait, y'all been telling me this stuff since I was a kid. You got the gift of gab. You can make friends with anybody. Ain't that networking? Since I was a kid, I've been networking since I was a kid. I got 41 years experience networking, y'all. So that was it, man. Like really just thinking back on it. And like people always ask me, like, is it even worth it? You know, was it worth it for you going back to school? And I'm like, hell yes, right? Because it was like for me, right? And this is the different thing. Is like I'm a firm believer in learning and education. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care if you don't have the master's degree on the wall like me, or the bachelor's or the associates. What's funny is the one I'm most proud of is my 2-year degree from Madison College, because that's the one I got when I was depressed in the streets, didn't believe in myself, was broke, didn't have nothing, right? That's the one I'm most proud of because that's the scariest one, right? That's the one that like showed me I could do anything. That's the one that got me here, right?
Yeah,
that was the one that got me out here. That was the one that got me out the little shell, got me out, got my got my chest poked out a little bit, gave me some confidence, say, yes, you can go to UW, nigga.
Right.
Yes, you can go there and you will do good, right? Like it was crazy because I went from Madison College to UW and banged it out, right? Like, but that Madison College, bro, I was scared to death. You know what I mean? I had no clue what I was going to do. So that's the one I'm most proud of. And it's like, they're like, what about that master's degree? It was like, I was a master at that point. I felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like in there being an adult and going back to school. I wasn't a kid no more. Like, bro, I'm in class. I'm like I said, I'm front row. I'm taking notes. I got a tutor. I got a office hours. Yes. Right. I need all. Like, yes. What time is your office hours? Oh, and your TA got them too? Oh, yep. I need them too. Bro, I was so serious with it. Right? Like, I'm talking about, like, you can't be, like, if you ain't serious, don't go to school. That's what I tell people. You ain't gonna get no ROI. You ain't gonna get no ROI. You're gonna get a whole bunch of loans and you're gonna drop out. And you're gonna owe a whole bunch of money, and you ain't raised your status nan nada.
Right.
Not a nan, nada. I feel like
Right.
smacking them like powder. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So that's what I would say. It's like, don't go if you ain't serious, you know. And if you do go, be serious. Set yourself up for success. This is like that was like, well, how do I know? How do I set myself up for success, Dex? I say, all right, listen to your coursework. Listen to your coursework. What are the classes that you actually enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
That's a simple one. Oh,
Yeah.
I actually like that. That homework challenged me, but I liked it. I show up to class. I actually enjoy it. I sit up. I listen to the teacher. Listen to that coursework. That's talking to you, okay? It's talking to you. It's telling you something. And then I would say, don't wait until you need help to get it. I was always that, I'm afraid of math type person. I'm scared of math. I ain't taking no math. Guess what I did when I had to take math as a grown man? I got a tutor before I got an F.
Right.
I got a tutor before I got a D. I got a tutor from the jump. And guess what? When you get that B or that C to start and you think you're going to get an F, what you think that do to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're like, oh, I could do this.
I can handle this.
Right.
I can do this, right? You
Mhm,
start
mhm.
breaking that self-sabotage, right? That self-fulfilling prophecy where we tell ourselves we can't do something is breaking the cycle. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what I say you do. Listen to your coursework. Be serious about it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get nothing out of it if you ain't serious about it, right? And then get the help before you need it. If you do those two things, the sky is the limit. I mean, sky is no limit, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's what's up.
Sky is no limit.
Thanks.
People need to start looking at their life and things like that more often, man. Because it's like just out like that outside of the box thinking. I feel like I love that you keep coming back to that, man, and it's so important. You got me inspired in birds. I don't even like birds like that. You know what I'm saying? And you know Dex, man. I'm sending you pictures. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
love
yo,
it.
what's happening with this bird? Like, you know, because I kind of went through a little bit of that myself, man. Like during the pandemic, just like not going outside and everybody working from home, you get no sunlight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very interested on like besides you just enjoying nature and the birds, like you taking it to that next level, like what, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did you do that? And you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you talked with a counselor and I seen you, did you come up with a bird song too? Like I think I heard a bird song or a chant. I seen y'all online. Y'all was having fun.
It's crazy because like
tell us about it, man. Tell us about
it was more of like it was me trying to break through the fear, right? Of what people are gonna think when they find out Dex loves birds, right? Because this been in me for a while. So like it was kind of like it was one of those things where I'm like, I had always loved them. So when I'm out and about, even when I was touring the country, rapping, doing freestyles on Shade 45, I still love birds, right? So it's like, how am I going? Yeah, I just snorted on y'all. How am I going to break this to the world? Which was so funny. And this is where hip hop came back again because I was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing it with me vibing. Right?
Yeah.
I'm listening to beats. I'm like listening to Black Star while I'm in the woods. And like I like changed it up. And I was like, that's the way, Dex. Because I was like, how am I gonna show people like birding is for everyone, even you? That's my literally that's my motto. Like, this is for you. It's for you, Bradley. It's for you, Corey. It's for you, Opal. It's for everybody, right? And I'm like, how can I show that to my people? Because to me, those were the only people I cared about. I was like, people gonna be roasting me, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be roasting me like Dex in the woods, he the bird man now. What is going on? But I always say I'm the flyest birder in the woods, you know what I'm saying? Always. Right. That's why I got sponsors, you know. But it was like it was the fear where I was like, okay. I was like, Dex, you're happy, man. Like it was literally kind of like this realization where I was like, I'm so happy. Like I feel like I'm cheating my people. Like I'm not being that authentic person that y'all talked about. Like I was like, I feel like I'm cheating my people if I don't share this. Like I was like, it's the term I've been using. The term I coined is bird joy, and I was feeling this bird joy out, you know, and I'm feeling it. I'm like, I start feeling good, right? I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. I'm like, I need to share this, like that fountain of youth, you know, like I found it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, and I just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna share it. So I started sharing these videos of myself, just like in the woods, vibing on the trail, right? Dope beat, whatever I might be listening to at the time. And that's kind of how it started. And then it was like, I had like 10 views. And I had like 20 views. And like a month later, I had like 100 views. I was like, this is kind of crazy, right? I was like, I'm burning. There's 100 views. But then that turned into 1,000 and like 2,000, 3,000. Well, I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then also I like meet people like Karina Newsom with like 70,000 followers, and like she's sharing my stuff, and I'm like, that was another one of those moments, right? I had just I was like, there's something here, Dexter. You know? There's something here, my friend. So I was like, yeah, this Wisco Birder thing is legit. You know what I mean? So I just kind of leaned into it real heavy. I really started, like, I've always taken pictures and kind of been into media. They call me Digital Dex. I've been doing that. Right. That's just kind of who I am. You know, I always love digital media. So it just kind of gave me a reason to pull out the camera again and start taking pictures, and I started getting really good and like better and better. And I was like, you know, this is kind of cool, you know? And then I was like, all right, what's the next level? Remember I told y'all how I learn stuff when I teach it. So
okay.
Birding is super complicated. Like it's like so much to it where it can be so complicated to the point where people will be like, I ain't even gonna try this. Right. I don't even know where to start. Yeah. And I was like, how can I break some of those barriers down for people and make this more accessible? So I started, you know, as I'm learning birds and learning songs and habitats and different things, I started creating these videos. Who wants to help me find this bird? Who wants to help me find this bird? Who wants to help me find this? You ready? Let's go. You ready? Let's go. Right. And I started showing people how to find these things, and we're locating them together, and they're seeing all this stuff. I'm teaching. Right. I'm teaching as I'm learning sounds. I'm teaching as I'm learning birds. I'm teaching this to people who look like me, and I'm doing it with my cap on, you know, and, you know, dress how I dress and different things, or listening to some hip hop and different things. So it's like, it started getting other people who would normally would be like old white people, who that's what people mostly think about when they think about birds. They think about old white people. I started changing that, you know, and people started saying, wait, you know, I'm not young. Like my daughters would tell you I'm not young, but I'm young to people who think about birders.
Yeah, right. All relative. Right. Yeah.
So it's all relative. Yeah, in a sense. So, but they see this young black dude singing, dancing, rapping in the woods, happens to take super dope photos and is teaching people along the way. So it really kind of changed the game in a sense. And it was like, it didn't take long, y'all. Like it didn't take long for things to kind of start taking off. I'm like approaching 6,000 followers on Instagram in a year, couple 100,000 views. I got 3 sponsors already. And it's like, I'm speaking for the National Audubon Society, Birdability, major, like the U.S. Geological Survey, national organizations bringing us in to speak about diversity in the outdoors and inclusion and birding, and how we see this changing. And it all is about, you know, people seeing somebody that look like them in a leadership position, inviting them out to the woods. We provide that safety in numbers. There's a lot of black people who are like, Dex, you crazy to go out in the woods by yourself, but they'll come out with the 30 people or so that we'll have in our events, man. We have anywhere from 20 to almost 60 people sometimes at some events. So it depends what we do, but just think about that, y'all. Like on average, I got 30 to 40 people just come and birding with your boy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and it's like people of color and BIPOC
Mhm.
folks and old and allies and old people, young people.
Right.
It's like
Mhm.
it's pretty cool, man.
It's
Yeah.
dope.
So dope, because you're breaking those boundaries for other people too, right? Because it's like
Mhm.
representation matters, not just that I can see myself doing it, but that I can see myself doing it and it's cool and it's
And it's
accepted,
cool, you
right?
know,
And
and
I
it's
can do it with
cool. I
somebody else
think
and vibe. Yeah.
our member we're probably most proud of is Roman. He's 7 years old and he's a black boy. He wants to be an ornithologist when he grows up. He wants to study birds. He has almost 150 birds at age 7 on his list already.
Oh,
On his
wow.
on his bird list, y'all. Like Roman can bird by ear. It's pretty cool because this year during Black Birders Week, we actually set up an event with the Henry Vilas Zoo. And Roman at age 7 led a group of almost 20 people through the zoo as the leader. As the leader. And he led that group for Black Birders Week at age 7. So putting him in that leadership position, man, y'all don't know. Like I was so proud of him, and he killed it, right? Like the response from these adults, right? Like adults just being like this 7-year-old black boy, right? Leading us through the woods and putting them on birds and hearing like he birds by ear and sees and all that. Like, it's pretty remarkable when you see that in Roman at age 7 and doing that.
Do you do that too? Can you hear a bird and you know what that bird is? Like
yeah. So that's this last year. That was my big challenge was birding by ear because it's super hard. But it also makes it a lot more efficient when I can hear something and know what I'm hearing, and I'm not spending a bunch of time trying to find something that I kind of already got or I'm not looking for. Or if I hear something and I'm looking for it, immediately I can stop and be patient and start scanning. So that's a big thing that I've really been into is definitely trying to learn more songs by ear. And they're like, how do you do that? I like one bird at a time. You're not going no, it literally is one at a time.
That's dope.
That's super dope. Yeah, I've seen him Roman, I think it is, you said. I've seen him in some of the press. So yeah, to our listeners, do Google Dexter Patterson, Wisco Birder. There's been some magnificent press written up and some really cool pictures too. I've really liked to see the diversity within the BIPOC folks that are in that
it's
group.
Crazy because like it's been a year. So we actually founded our club on Juneteenth last year. Jeff Galligan and I, we went out birding together. It was Juneteenth, and we made this decision that day that we were going to start the club. We had our first event that next month on July 24th. So like we started it in June. The next month we've been off and running ever since. So we got that 1-year anniversary coming up here pretty soon. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Man, what I love and to kind of extract some things and put it in the business world, it feels like that you found that niche, you know, that thing that you've been able to step into and really command that space and command that lane and become a master. You keep saying that you keep working, but from the outside looking in, it's like, the sensei. He controls
and I think, and Bradley know this, too, Corey. Like you said, from that business perspective, that's like it. If you can carve out a niche and like, and you got it right. Like I always say, you can have 1 million likes and all that. I don't care. What are they doing? Right. And typically when you get a niche, you typically got people that you can move. Right. And when you're marketing, what is our job, Bradley? Our job is to change behavior. Absolutely. Right. So if we're not changing behavior, that means they're not engaging what we're doing. We're not moving the needle with them. But typically when you have that niche and you can master that niche, like Corey talked about, you're going to move that needle and some. Right. So in a year, it hasn't even been a year. We've been in over 40 publications, y'all, in less than a year. Right. I'm talking about interviews with the Sierra Club, National Audubon, every news organization in the state you can think about, from Spectrum to Cap Times, Wisconsin State Journal, Madison 3, every single one. You name one, they have covered us. The AP News,
Right.
national news, right? Like, so it's like in a year to be able to do that, that's because we had a niche. That's because we felt the need. And as a business, your job is to fill needs. Your job is to find pain points and provide values to your customer. Right. The value we provide is to our community because our community didn't have it. Yes. They didn't have anybody creating a space for Black people outside.
Right.
They didn't have a community of people creating a space for BIPOC people outside or BIPOC people and their allies to get together outside. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was definitely a niche, and it was crazy because like we realized immediately, okay, we got a business case here, right? A lot of times, what's the use case? What's your business case? Immediately we saw it, right? We saw the need. So it's like, this mission is pure. Let's lean into this. Let's give our people exactly what they want. So we cater to beginning birders. We cater to people that don't know nothing. We cater to people that want to come out and just have fun, that don't know a thing, that just want to walk around, right? You're going to come to our events, you ain't going to get shushed. Right, they ain't gonna tell you to be quiet or none of that shit, right? Like,
you can be loud looking at the bird.
Be loud, like we clap, we have fun, and we see more birds than most people. I always tell people that like these people act like birds care. The birds, I tend to tell they like me because I'm happy. Right. Like I'm not like, I don't know, like I think animals, like Mother Nature in general, energy is real, right? Like it's like. I think they just know, right? Like if you happy and your energy is calm, animals are different to you, right? You're not gonna come and get shushed. You're gonna be able to ask as many questions as you want. Oh, you don't got binoculars? Guess what? We have 35 pair from Vector Binoculars, which is the best binocular company in the Midwest, which is local to Wisconsin. So we're gonna take care of you, right? And then you're gonna have, you know, experts like Jeff, who was my mentor. You know, when I was a baby, Jeff been birding for 30 years. Madison Audubon board member. I'm the newest member of the Madison Audubon board. We got our leader, Rita, in Milwaukee, sits on the Audubon board up there, right? So we have experts too. So like, not only are they coming and seeing Black men and Latina women like leading, right? Leading, because we always lead, but they feel safe, man. They feel like they can ask a question. We start every event with community and we greet each other, and we you know, like it's very important. You know, I'll say, you know, I'll start off and I'll say, all right, y'all, my name is Dexter. I use he, him pronouns. Like I'll even throw that in there because we want LGBTQ people to feel safe. We want people to understand, come as you are, right? I'm he, him. You might be they. You might be like, I don't know, but I don't care, right? Like that. That's like, so that's what we do. And I'll say, so this spring, what's the coolest bird you've seen? If you haven't seen one or you don't know what that it is, what's one that you hope to see? And we'll start an event like that, right? Cool, and now people know your name. They like, you know, what you hoping to see? What's the coolest bird you saw? And everybody already feels like they're a part of something. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what we got going, man. It's a vibe. Like that's why I tell them it's a vibe, and like you're gonna get me, right? You're gonna get 100% me. You got Jeff, but our people, our members, man, we went over 500 in our Facebook group. We got over 1,000 on our Instagram. Like it's real, bro. Like and it's spreading, which is kind of cool. This weekend we're actually at the International Crane Foundation in Baraboo, and then next weekend we're at the Milwaukee Zoo. So we're doing some pretty cool things.
Right. Yeah, you definitely are. I feel like again, it's your energy, man, that you bring to this, and just how unique it is, you know, and how dope and unusual in a great way, you know, because sometimes people use the word unusual like, oh, that's like, no, like unusual is great, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing else like that. And I think another thing you are proving and continue to prove is that there is an industry if you have your passion in it and really follow, you know what I'm saying? Like really follow what your heart is telling you, because everything else is gonna line up. You know,
yeah. Listen to your heart. I think that, you know, I said something way earlier about being selfish. You know, it's okay to be selfish sometimes when you're taking care of you, because I feel like when your cup start running full, right, and it start running over, guess who benefits? Everybody else around you. If your cup is empty, or half full or that. Like nobody really benefits from that. So you gotta allow yourself to be full so you can give to your maximum ability. So it's not selfish to think about that.
With your story, and how you turned things around and where you're at now, what would you tell a listener as far as a starting point if they feel like they're at that point of burnout, at that point of depression? Where would you steer them as the first place or the first thing to try to do to turn that around?
Get really clear on what you want. Get really clear on what you want. You know, it does go back to that first nugget of clarity. Because when you're stuck, you're usually stuck because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. That's usually what happens. You know what I mean? Like you're usually stuck because you're doing what you're not supposed to do. So really getting clear and being able to step back and getting honest with yourself and being really candid, you know, and that's another thing I got in the woods, man. Some of the realest conversations I've ever had with myself have been in solitude, in the woods, with Mother Nature, with no social media, with no kids, no wife, no friends, nobody in my head, and literally letting my thoughts and my gut win. Like go with your gut, like listen to it. Even if you fail, you're going like F is not for failure, F is for feedback. So like even if you fail, that's not failure if you take in the feedback from that situation, right? Like that's what it is like literally just take that step back. If you're burnt out, there's a reason you're burnt out. There's a reason you feel like that, and it's typically because you're doing what you're not supposed to do. And that would be the only thing I will recommend people to do, bro, is just take that step back and ask themselves, what do I want and what am I doing that is keeping me from that? Because typically there's something that we can change, because that's the only thing we can worry about, right?
That's true.
The only thing we can worry about is the things we can change. If we take that step back and get clear on what we want, we usually can. Even if it's just that little bit, you know, sometimes it's just momentum, man. Like even that little knob twist can kind of just create a little bit of momentum and change the tides for you.
I feel like that's a whole word right there. Like that's deep. Like if you are stuck, it is because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And like I'm glad you said that, DLO, because I was thinking the same thing. Like how many people have we brought on here to talk about money and finances and success and how you've been able to do that and feed your family and future generations? And it all comes back to once they found their passion. Building on that piece, right? Whether it looks crazy or it's never been done before, like this birding in Wisconsin has never been done before. I personally don't know anyone who grew up like you, who is a professor of one of the best institutions of learning within not just the country, but the world. So to me, that's a word. And how do you show up in those spaces that are brand new and keep you right? Like, because I had a boss tell me before, like, they hired you for that role. Don't show up as somebody else on that first day, right? Don't show up at what you think it's supposed to look like, right? Because it's terrifying when you're like, oh shit, I got here. I need to go here. Okay, we didn't.
Do I need to be like that?
That's real time. That's real.
Yeah. How do what lets you do that? Because I imagine that you show up just like this in your classes.
I do. It's crazy, right? So the class, that's a performance. So as an artist, as somebody that's been in front of crowds, and I feed off of that energy, right? So like if I'm lecturing and they're not asking questions or they're not engaged or they're not, right? Like something's off, right? So like it's like that was another line where I was like, dang, like being an artist and performing and not being afraid to show up in front of strangers, right? Over like sometimes showing up in these new spaces. These are strangers. Stranger danger, right? Stranger danger. But that confidence of I've been on the road. I've been in front of people they ain't never met me and probably ain't never heard me or nothing, right? But you give it their all. You give them your all. Whether it's I had a model, it could be 2 people or 2,000 they're gonna get the same show,
Mm.
right? Because I've done them
Love
both. I've done shows with 2,000 people. I've done
Yep.
shows with
Facts.
right? Where it's like me and Vince. Yeah. Right?
Shout out to Vince,
So-
man. Shout out.
So
Killer
I've
bang
been
in the
there.
piece. Yes, sir.
But the key is giving them my all, right?
Mhm.
Where I took it and I made sure when I showed up those 2 days a week and I had you for 75 minutes that you got my best, right? That lecture, you could tell that I spent my time, my energy, and you're getting everything from me that day. And that was the only thing I did because it was scared shitless because it was something I had never done before.
Yeah.
But going back to it, you're like, they hired you to do this, right? So I made sure that I showed up as me, right? So when I lecture, they get this energy, right? They get, they get, you know, if anybody see me present at a conference or anything, they get that energy in the classroom, right? And it showed in my evaluations, y'all. Like I had some of the best evaluations that they had ever seen in the department. You know, when you see comments like best professor I've ever had at the university, somebody I can finally relate to, you know, this, you know, all these like type of things while I'm reading these evaluations. But then at the same time where it was like, oh, such a great professor, but he could have did this, and this, and where I'm like, I touched them to the point where they want to know I did a great job, but they want me to be better for the next generation. And those were the comments that I really appreciated because I was like, I really touched this person to the point where they were thoughtful. You know, I'm talking about, I've seen some of these, you know, evaluations where paragraphs are written. Like, I just thought that was kind of wild, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I had so much fun with them, you know, like it was like, I you know, I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeves. And there was times where like, they kind of just touched my heart from their work, right? Whereas like I'm challenging them and they were like reciprocating this challenge that I'm putting on them by delivering some amazing work. Like it's a world-class university. So I got to push them too, right? So like the work that they did are things that they could be proud of, that they've submitted for internships and job interviews and different things. So like, as a teacher, as somebody that takes a step back and you see that and you're like, man, this is what it's about, you know. And like that was such a, you know, it was such an amazing experience. And then like to have the opportunity to do it full time, starting in the fall to teach 3 different classes. And what's crazy is like the classes I'm teaching all go back to music too. So I'm teaching documentary photography. What do you think that I was doing when I was documenting, you know, taking pictures at shows for the last 20 years? That's documentary photography. What do you think wildlife photography is? That's real life, right? Documentary photography is all about capturing the real, right? So that's kind of what I've been doing for all these years. Another class I'm teaching is informational radio and podcasting. Okay. So as somebody that owns a recording studio that's been in the music industry for over 2 decades, right? That understands, you know, radio from being played on a radio, but also hosting a radio show, to being a host on a radio show, to doing a podcast, to hosting a podcast, to being on amazing podcasts, to be able to teach that. That's another line that connects it. And then the next one is intro to digital video. And that's big because it's like social media video and teaching people like the power of video, right? The authenticity of video, that you can show up in the woods with a cell phone and capture the minds of hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, that you can capture and tell your story that can live in perpetuity with these visual images and things, to be able to teach the theories and best practices and those type of things to people, and then challenge them to do things that matter to them. Those are going to be the 3 classes I'm teaching. If that doesn't connect to what I've been doing in my life, man, I don't know what does, right? So it's kind of like this is like the pinnacle of digital Dex, right? It doesn't get better than that. And it's crazy because when I first went back to school in 2010, I told my wife, I said, someday I'm gonna be a college professor. This was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
This is before I got my first degree. I got 3 now, but this is before I even had the first one. I said, I'm going back to school because someday I'm going to be a college professor.
Dope.
Long term, right? Like I told
term.
y'all, a lot of the things,
you know what I'm saying?
are long term. You know what I mean? And this was something I was cool. Like I knew it would take a long ass time. And for me, that's the ROI. It's opened up to so many doors where I'm able to work for a world-class organization and a $4.5 billion nonprofit at the same time, right? 2X in my income for my family.
Right.
But also not working in the summer. People don't understand what that does. You 2X your income, but you also free up your summer. That's a boss move, right? Like that's a whole. People don't even move like that. Right. So in June, July, and August, Dexter might be in Costa Rica somewhere looking at birds. You know what I'm saying? So I just say like it's some levels to it, man, and be patient with yourself. Like I said, I talked about giving yourself some grace. Understand that it won't happen right away, but understand that you're breaking a cycle. And sometimes that takes a long time. I was the first person in my family to go to college, you know, and I won't be the last. My daughter's a college student now, so that's the way it goes. Being the first, and then you see one of your kids do it. That's what it's about. So giving back, be patient with yourself. Don't think that it needs to happen all at 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4. It might take 5, it might take 10. It took me 12.
Right.
They don't, but that all they see is right now.
Right. That's right.
That 12 years, right? Like what there's this graphic about like it's like a success mountain. I don't know.
Right. I've seen that. I've seen one that's like an iceberg where it's like you see
iceberg, right?
They see
that. They don't see those 12 years were beneath that water line, right? Where it was like every year was a little bit more, learning a little bit more about myself, learning, teaching, learning a little bit more, teaching it back, and it just took a little time, you know what I mean? But like, I look back on it, man, I couldn't change anything, right? I can't change anything. So I wouldn't change anything. I think that's important to be happy where we are now. I feel like right now I'm set up, living my best life literally right now. And I think that's important.
Right. I mean, Dex, I've seen you like basically jump from one iceberg to another iceberg. You know what I'm saying? And then take all the lessons you learned doing all your music businesses. And it's almost like you just brought everything that you're doing naturally over into this professional world. And now you're giving it back to everybody, as many people as possible. And that's just a beautiful thing, bro. That's super dope, man. Right.
It got me all emotional.
I be trying. You got to be real with your brother.
Right.
Like for real.
We got to give people their flowers.
I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Well, that's some real shit right there. Real words have never been spoken. I mean, it's been scary though when you leap from one.
For sure. For sure.
As soon as you jump, you look. Don't look down. Don't look down. Just be like, hey, I done jumped, bitch. I gotta make it now.
I know how to swim.
Okay.
I know how to build a boat. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go get the supplies. I'm gonna be all right.
Yep. Just jump, man, and you're gonna find that way. If you don't, you might bump yourself on the way down, but you're gonna find your way up.
Right. Absolutely.
I love that you spoke, being a professor into existence. Like, I legit feel like, especially like, because you're an MC, I feel like when you have talents and with words, like that's power, like legit. Like when we say things, like, because that's happened in my life too. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm here. Or, I got vision boards and stuff. And I'm like, damn, like I got that. Like I got that. I said that. And it was crazy when I said it. So
it sounded nuts. My wife thought I was crazy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she thought I was crazy when I told her they offered me the full-time job. She like, for real? I was like, yeah, and it was crazy because like when they hired me for the photography class in the spring, the person who hired me, like when I got my reviews back that I spoke about, like I sent her a message. I was like, I'm kind of like choked up about this stuff, you know, like because I ain't know how to deal with it. That was the first time I've ever taught, period, right? Like in a classroom. I've been speaking and doing trainings and all, like corporate training and all that, right? That's not the same. So like it was just kind of like to see that. And to see her, my supervisor's response was, we already knew you was going to do that. And it kind of goes back to what you said. They hired me to teach that class. And what stood out to me when I read that was me. Was they appreciated that I was me in that class. You know, maybe they got a swear word every other lecture.
Right.
Maybe I played rap music once in a while. Maybe I rap to them once in a while, right? But I definitely always put on a show for them, right? Like I always showed up for them. I always showed up for them, right? Not a show in a sense of like entertaining, but I showed up like, you know, like as an MC, y'all, you know how that feels like when you show up for your people, right? They feed off of that energy. And next thing you know, they rapping your lyrics or they're meeting you at the merch table at the end of the night to get that new, right? So like, I made sure that I gave them that. And now that's what I leaned on. And probably another one of the biggest learnings was being comfortable to lean on my strengths now. To understand, hey, you are an expert in these things, right? So lean on that expertise and just share that and be comfortable and understand that you are the master in this situation and give it to them. And it was like, but also being humble enough to realize that you're at a world-class university with some of the smartest young adults in the world. They're gonna teach you some stuff too. And they love it when you celebrate that kind of stuff. When you're humble enough to like make. I always tell people as a marketer, if you can make your audience the hero, you always win. Same with your students. Same on anybody you're trying to inspire. You're trying to pick up. If you can make them feel worthy, you can make them feel like a hero, a superhero. They're going to give you your all. They're going to run through a brick wall for you. They're going to put in that all-nighter to get that, you know, that paper in because they know Prof. Patterson got they back. You know what I'm saying? That shit sound good, didn't it? Office hours, baby.
I see the whole thing. I see it. So you inspired as hell. You inspire your students. You inspire us. I'm inspired as hell. Who inspires you?
Man, I look back on it and I think about some people that really inspired me. And it was one person in particular that I leaned into when I was really low was Les Brown. Les Brown and it was like Les Brown. If y'all ain't never watched some of his videos, like this man was packing stadiums like he was the Dallas Cowboys in the 80s, right? Like this man, I'm talking about this is pre-social media. This man has, I'm talking about stadiums of people showing up to listen to him motivate them. And I remember listening to one of his speeches, man, where he's talking about how he was labeled mentally retarded as a kid. And for so many years, he believed that he was retarded and that he just wasn't capable of doing anything because he was educated, whatever, mentally retarded, right? And he finally started realizing that was bullshit. And there's a quote he has where he talks about somebody's opinion on you does not have to be your reality. And I'm paraphrasing that a little bit. But it was at that moment where he really pushed this idea that greatness is within you. That's his number one line, that greatness is within you. And I was like, at that time, this is why I started figuring out that when I'm stuck, it's usually because Dex ain't doing what the hell he's supposed to be doing. That greatness is within me. I need to tap into that. I need to stop making excuses, right? And it was Les Brown that really kind of got me thinking differently. and really trying to seek that motivation. And ultimately, they can inspire you only so much. You got to motivate yourself,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But it was Les Brown, and it was kind of crazy because I started following Les and really digging in. It was years, you know, commenting on his videos and stuff, and I ended up getting hit up by a member of his team, and I ended up being able to share one of my stories in a book with Les Brown. And that was like, let me see if I could find it for y'all. See, what happened when y'all ask questions that I don't be knowing about. But it was Les, right? And it was Les Brown Changed Our Lives.
Oh, dope.
And this was the first time. This was the first time I was ever published in a book. And it was just me sharing one of my, sharing a story, and it was it was that moment where I was like, Dex, bro, it's a lot more out there for you. When you got people like Les Brown willing to chop it up and wanting people to hear your story. So I shared my Break the Cycle story, and letting people know it starts with us. Whatever, no matter your circumstances, no matter where you grew up, what you did, it takes one of us. Right, Opal, you said something about people always think it's impossible, right? Until somebody do it.
Thanks.
Be that person, and it was Les Brown for me that kind of really opened it up, where I was like, I started to think that and believe that there's some greatness inside of me. I just had to slowly start to untap that a little bit and believe.
Word.
Dope.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was just at the UW for the music clinic, and on the last day I was doing stuff with producers for beat making. And before I let them go, before we listen to everybody's beats at the end, I wanted to just tell them, how incredible and talented they are and how great they are and all the things that they're able to accomplish. And I went to a Les Brown quote, and the quote I used, and I'm probably paraphrasing it, something like, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Be great. Yes. That's another one, man. That's another one. Because we control it, right?
Right. We're in complete control. And, there's always that hesitancy just to get started because you're always waiting for the perfect conditions. And, I was trying to tell them that.
I tell my daughters this, there will never be a perfect moment.
Right. Never.
I love
but you got to get started. If it's going to be a beat maker, if it's going to be the session musician or whatever you're trying to do, you got to get out there and make it happen.
Do it.
So,
you got to do it. You got
to start the journey. So that's incredible. The thing I wanted to ask you, now that we've asked you about who inspires you, is we always look for book recommendations for our audience. I know you already talked about one earlier. Is there another book or a group of books that you would recommend for our listeners that were impactful and to you?
Oh man, so there's definitely, like, Les stands out. There's definitely one book in particular. It was pretty much in this same window when I found Les. I found this book as well. It's weird how, like, when you start looking for enlightenment and that stuff, like, you kind of like binge it.
Right.
It comes to you.
You kind of binge it, and then it's like, I don't know if that's healthy, because I feel like I could binge like 20 books if I only apply one sentence. What's the point, right? Of binging 20 books. So it was like, it was one book, and it's crazy because it ain't like it's like, it's The Alchemist.
That's a great book.
It's not like a true story, but it should be, right? It's about like this journey, and like you can interpret it in so many ways. And I feel like when you read this by Paulo Coelho, like, you read The Alchemist when you're ready, and I feel like once you start searching for like these answers and stuff, this is a book for you, because you're on the journey. Right. And like, you read The Alchemist, it's like you're gonna start your mind, like, remember I told y'all, your mind's just start racing and different things, where it starts helping you figure out, what do you want? That question that I talked about earlier starts helping you think about clarity. It starts helping you think about what matters to you. Like your passion matters, to trust your instincts, and like all these different things that I got from this book. So if you haven't read that one, I would read that now and read it again. It's probably something I would recommend just kind of going back to every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's one of those
That's what
books that'll just give you something more every single time you read it.
Yeah, because you're like a different person the next time you read it and you feel and hear something. Yeah, that's that's one of my prized possessions. I got a signed copy of The Alchemist. Is my like if it was a fire, I'm grabbing my MacBook.
Yeah, that's
and The Alchemist.
That bad boy need to be in the safe somewhere.
Right there. Yo,
but yeah, that book, I don't know, man. That one did something because it's like I love reading, and it's weird because when my mom would tell you this, when I was a kid, I hated it. I hated it. Like I couldn't stand it. And then as I've gotten older, I love reading. But that was one book as I read it, like I could see it. It was so cool. It was just like those words came off of the page and they were in my head. And like it was such a visual experience, which is kind of crazy to think about a book. And it was, like couple hundred pages at the time. Like I hated like long books. It ain't super long, but it was a couple hundred pages for me at that time. That was long as hell. This book is long as hell. But I read it in like 2 days. Like it was like one. I just was hooked. I was like, whoa. I've changed. Like I'm a new person because old Dex would not have read this long ass book in 2 days, and it ain't even super long. That's what's so funny. But at the time, it felt long as hell, But that's the one.
Cool,
nice,
classic.
They made that. Somebody made it into a graphic novel too. So that's also like I took that out from the library too. So when you say the visual, I think that's a universal feeling because somebody did. They put it into a graphic novel too. So.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Great story.
Man, that's what's up. Well, we want to thank you for being a part of this. I know we all are inspired. I know our listeners are going to be inspired. And there's one thing I do want to add, especially with today. I had a conversation with the young creative, in the studio today. And I think this individual is trying to jump icebergs right now. And I hope that he's listening. I'm definitely going to tag you in this, but your life story and the things that you've talked about speaks directly to so many people, and what they're experiencing, and things that they have experienced. So I just can't imagine. I can't wait for the playback myself, but I just know that people listening to this are going to be reaching in a multitude of ways. So we can't really thank you enough for everything that you shared with us and coming on here and being a part of this podcast.
I appreciate y'all, man. I know I've been looking forward to it. Opal reached out. I'm glad we was able to make today work, but y'all doing some beautiful things. So happy to jump on here and share a little bit with the people.
That's what's up. And for those people listening, make sure to hit up the IG, Twitter, TikTok, Wisco.
Oh yeah, I'm new on the TikTok. Well, I was like, I just jumped. Hey, y'all heard me. Y'all heard that old stuff. I'm new on the TikTok.
Right.
That's that old man. Boy, I'm
new
on the
old
TikTok. Hey, I almost got 10,000 likes in a couple months though. So I'm doing all right on the TikTok.
Right.
Hey.
Y'all make sure you follow that. And I know you had mentioned earlier, office hours.
Yeah, that's something
coming
man.
soon.
I've had a bunch of people like, man, what's up with my Tough Talk video, man? And I was kind of like, it's expired, like I felt like like I kind of reached what I was trying to do with that. And I think as I transition into this, jump onto this new iceberg, I gotta, start some new adventures, right? Start climbing up some new mountains. And I think office hours is going to be that. And it's going to basically be what Tough Tip was, what the Tough Tip was, but at a different level. And I'm excited, you know what I mean? So that'll probably be in the fall. I'm building these courses out right now, transitioning from my role in my current role and to this new role. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but I'm blessed, man. My heart is full. I'm excited. I'm going to get to teach some of my people's kids, You
That's
know what I
awesome.
mean? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
and the future generations of leaders at the University of Wisconsin. So I'm super excited about that. I can't wait to get to work. Like I'm nervous, I'm excited, but like I've learned that like that's a good thing, because if you don't feel that, you kind of getting back into, remember we talked about you getting back into this if you don't feel that. So jumping like that person you talked about, Corey, they're jumping for a reason. That's what I would tell that person. You're jumping for a reason. You've reached the ledge, you've reached your capacity in your current body. It's time to elevate. So when your body is telling you to jump.
That's right.
That's what's up.
Nice.
It's like that cocoon, right? You come,
Right.
you know,
You got
gotta go.
Got
Like
the
your
wings,
body
gotta fly.
kind of, you don't know why, but you know, you turn in from this ugly little caterpillar into this beautiful butterfly. But you don't know why this is happening. But that metamorphosis is happening in the universe. People always worried about the universe working against them. What they don't realize is the universe is always working in your favor.
Absolutely.
If you pay attention.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe understand that more by reading that book, The Alchemist. I'll just put that out there.
Yes.
That was another reason I dropped that in there.
All right. I know y'all need to play this back. Make sure that you check it out at our Linktree/Black Currency Podcast. There you'll be able to check all the different platforms in which you can access the podcast. Make sure to go over to the Radio 22 YouTube and subscribe if you would like to see the visual at youtube.com/radio22. We appreciate everybody being a part of this podcast and y'all tuning in. Much and a special thanks to my man Dexter Patterson and the Wisco Birders and everything that y'all got going on. So we appreciate you being a part of this. We appreciate everybody listening in. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, I know he didn't do it, baby.
Whoa, where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these trouble.